Hi guys, here we are back at the Powerwall again, as promised, with the second part of the video about the new Coulombmeter feature on the controller. It took a little bit longer than 1 week, and this is all because coding, testing, improving, and the cycle begins from the beginning again. Coding, testing, improving, coding, testing, improving. It's always when you write some lines of code, it's never optimal. You always have to go back, testing stuff, etc. But now it's finished. It's working really well. We have automated features, and I will show you today which numbers we see directly here at the Powerwall, what is the display showing to us, and then later on I will show you graphs how this looks in the form of a diagram. The difference between voltage-based state of charge prediction and how now this all works with Coulombmeter features. Okay, let's show you what was the challenges. There was one challenge as with the other battery monitor. You can see now the situation at charging. Here the multimeter says 43.7, 43.8. So at charging the situation is highly accurate. This is because the chargers seem to output a very nice noise-free and ripple-free DC, and this is very easy to measure with the shunt and a normal sensor. Later on, when the system goes into discharge, I will show you the difference, what is going on when discharging. Now we are inverting. The inverter is pulling around 1000 watts, and as you can see now, here we are showing 20.7 from the sensor, and in real the meter is showing, multimeter is showing around 22.4. So at this stage around 2 amps different. And this is only when the inverter is on. Inverters are very difficult to measure with shunt sensors because they are producing the ripple. In this case it's not too much noise, but yeah, this is the ripple from the inverter which is now in effect, and it doesn't matter too much because what I found out through measurement is that the value is kind of constant. It's somewhere around 17% in this case. So this we can mathematically remove, and then we still can do good measurements. Okay, here now this is morning time. What we can see on the screen is voltage, the accuracy of the meter. It just calibrated on the low end as the battery pack is depleted, so the accuracy is high. No currents at the moment, and you can see we have always now two state of charge predictions on the screen. One is by voltage and the other one to the right is by Coulombmeter. Then on the last lane we have the watt hours of the last charging cycle and the last discharging cycle. The charging cycle is now already reset to 0 again automatically because the charging will start then again. And the last discharge cycle was 10,700 watt hours. On the second page now we can see cycle count. I have started with 250 and the watt hours charged there. So as soon that value is similar to the battery capacity, the count will be increased by 1. And then this was now this night the first discharge cycle. We started at 95%, went down to 4%, and that gives us a new estimated battery capacity. which is 12,005 watt hours or 235 amp hours. So some of you who are following this channel for a longer time already, they know that I have bought used cells, lithium iron phosphate cells, and the original capacity was 100 amp hour per cell, or this would equal to about 15 kilowatt hours on the pack. I was estimating my pack to 12,500 watt hours remaining about. But I always knew that I was very optimistic. And this time we have now first time the official number, and it is 12,000. But that would equal to exactly 20% battery cell degradation. And yeah, that is exactly why these cells have been decommissioned. The previous life of these cells cost them 20% of their health, and when they lost 20%, the previous owner have decommissioned the pack and put the cells to the used market. And now they are here. But they lost 20% within 3 years, so that means those cells have actually made more than somewhere between 2 and 3 cycles per day. So they had quite a hard life before. But here, this is an easy life, second life. And yeah, we will continue monitor the battery health and see how this will change in future. So here we are now in afternoon while charging. You see, we still have the different methods of prediction all in parallel calculated. And here is what I can show you. You see now Coulombmeter drift 1.17. So this is the correction factor which was established on the first few days. The controller has more or less checked the sensor, and 1.17 is how much the current during the discharging have to be adjusted to have a correct reading. So 17% is what the ripple more or less is taking away from our reading when the inverter is on. You can now of course say that this is a lot of measurement error, actually a lot of drift, 17%, and it is true. But you have to understand that when you buy a finished meter, like I had a meter before, that one drifted 2%, but I could not correct it. Here we are correcting it. By correcting the sensor, our drift is less than probably 1% remaining, and this is as well calibrating itself. In the daily operation, a drift will be not noticeable here, while when you have a finished meter, however they try to compensate for these errors, if they are not successful 100%, there is no way that you can avoid a drifting meter. And now the end of the day. Due to a thunderstorm in the afternoon, we did not reach full capacity, but just very shy of it, 91%. And you see, we are only about 200 watt hours short from the last time we have discharged. I'm very happy about the outcome of this new Coulombmeter feature. So let's go inside and I will show you the graphs which will log from this charge and discharge cycle. Let's look into data. What I have here, and what is the only thing is interesting us, is the comparison between the voltage based prediction curve and the column-metric prediction curve. So both curves are logged on my SD card during the charge and discharge session, and we can see both here now presented in front of us. The upper one, this one, is voltage based prediction, and the lower one is Coulombmeter. But this one is not purely Coulombmeter, it is then more or less the final a curve which is shown then on the screen. It has the calibration also in it. What can we see? First of all, if you look both curves, if you disregard the zigzags here, the shape is quite similar, right? You see during the charging, this was all recorded yesterday, the charging, and tonight this charging. So that this is the most recent charge and this charge cycle. The charging yesterday was a very beautiful day, so most of the time both chargers have been activated from beginning until the end, and it went straight up here. By Coulombmeter you see straight line until we are full. Here on the voltage base prediction, unfortunately you can actually forget about this area here. I have simplified my code when I put this together now, so especially in the in-between areas here, I've simplified, and here I seem to have simplified too much. I took out maybe one or two correction steps, and this here was kind of left over. But this can be easily corrected in the code. And then we are coming up, and you see when you get the fuller state of charges, the voltage base prediction is getting then very shaky, because you have to really apply a lot of pressure, a lot of voltage, extra voltage to push the last electrons and ions around, and this is then getting really more difficult. But at the beginning, up to 50%, 60%, usually that is very easy to predict, also LFP by voltage. And then we are on the resting part. On the top we are full, so both curves are showing a nice flat area on the up. And then we are going into discharge. This is early evening, the demand is very low, so the Coulombmeter is showing a slow decline. And also by voltage, discharge is always much more difficult to predict because the loads are changing permanently, so it is not as nice, of course. But still, if you look almost until 70%, this spike here is because the loads changed then rapidly from almost nothing to full loads. You can see that on the Coulombmeter we are starting to fall off there into a almost a straight line on the Coulombmeter, because the loads have been, the inverter has pulled maximum load all the time here. So at the beginning it's quite possible to predict by voltage, but then you come into an area which is somewhere around maybe 75 to 40, or even let's say 30. At 30 it's kind of ending, and that is the very flat part, and at discharge that area is extremely hard to predict. That's why you see this plus minus almost 20% spikes there. That is the very flat part and the challenge which is presented there. But this is ending around 30%. At the Coulombmeter, of course, you can't see any of this because we are just tracking the energy. That's why we are doing this. And then you see 30%. This is then again going quite well with voltage base prediction and current corrections. And I do it like this, that at around 20% I'm starting to compare these two graphs, and at 15% then, which is here by voltage, the Coulombmeter is getting calibrated.
So you see by Coulombmeter before the 15% we have been a little bit tracking on the higher side, and then it was pulled down a few percent probably to the voltage based curve and corrected. But this correction is only done one time there, and then it's continuing again by column-metric method until the discharging is finished. And everything is starting from the beginning. You see the difference between voltage based and column metric. If this is a different chemistry, this upper curve would probably almost look like the lower curve. So on my LiPo battery pack, there would be actually no need to merge the methods. The voltage based prediction would already have a result like the curve here on the down. All our efforts have paid off really big time. The software is final now at the moment, so you can download it, you can look it on my GitHub page, you can take parts of it out if you want to do anything like this. Take some parts which you need. It is now already such a huge sketch, the whole Powerwall program, right? It's huge. It's getting a little bit complicated to see through it. Also for me, if I have a problem, I have to already wrap my head around all these code lines. It's really getting a lot. But you can take parts out of it if you need something. If you just want to see how the concept of Coulombmeter is working and the calibration. There's not much more to say about this. Let's go back to a final conclusion.
Right, so with the implementation of this Coulombmeter into my Powerwall, I have really learned a lot again about my pack. It's the first time that I can put a number on the remaining capacity. I know that there is nothing you get for free on this world, so if somebody is selling his cells, he's selling it because he has a reason. He's not giving anything away for free. So you have to take that into account. When you get used cells, they will be used until it was too much of a degradation for the previous owner. You saw by the charts, many people say lithium iron phosphate is not predictable by just using a voltmeter and measuring currents. It is just very complicated, and it takes a lot of effort to do so, and that's why the Coulombmeters are a very big help, especially with this chemistry. Now we have combined two systems, and we made something extremely good out of it. We made a fully automated system which can establish remaining capacities, monitor the pack over time. We can now follow the state of the health of this pack over the next years, and this is actually done on daily basis. There's so much we can learn from this, and it is really awesome how it turned out. So I hope that in some way or the other you can participate from this knowledge, and you can implement it into your projects as well. In DIY we have sometimes the chance to create something better than you can even get on the market. No one will sell you a system like this which can do this, especially not if you do this with your own monitor like I did on the other battery. This would cost you $30–35. That is what we can do and what we did. Let's see if there is another idea which we could then one day also implement further into the Powerwall. Okay, so I hope you found it interesting. Thank you for watching this video. Please comment, like, and especially subscribe. I have more than 90% of my viewers are not subscribed, but subscribing to the channel can help the creator one day to maybe get a few bucks from YouTube, and you know, even if it's just a small amount of money, can then sponsor some new ideas, new small projects, and so the channel can always grow like that. So thank you very much. I see you next time.